Good evening and welcome to the Smyrna Town Council meeting. I am going to call our meeting to order, and I'm going to ask Rex Gaither, our Assistant Town Manager and Finance Director, to do our prayer, and I'll ask Charles King, our Town Engineer, to do our pledge. If everyone will please stand with me.
Let's pray. Lord, we thank you for this day, another day of life and health. Thank you for the sunshine that we enjoyed. Lord, we just thank you for our fire and police departments, Lord, that go about serving us and protecting us. Lord, we thank you for all of our employees that work hard to improve the quality of life that we have in our town. Lord, I pray that you be with the people that are suffering from serious illness. Lord, I pray for healing for them. Lord, I just pray for those that have, for the families and the friends that have lost loved ones, and pray that you would be with them and comfort them. Lord, we just pray that we would learn how to respect each other every day and be kind to each other. Lord, we love you. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Please join in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Rex and Charles. Miss Diane, if you'll do roll call, please.
Councilman Cole,
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman Morrell, Councilwoman Peebles,
Here.
Councilman Short,
Here.
Councilman Sullivan, Vice Mayor Atkins,
Here.
Mayor Reed.
Here. Okay, we'll move on to item 3, which is approval or corrections of the minutes of the February 9th, 2021 and February 25th, 2021 meetings. Are there any additions or corrections that need to be done? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve?
I move to approve.
I have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Minutes pass. Brian, any correspondence or communication tonight?
No, ma'am.
Any awards or recognitions?
No, ma'am.
We'll move on to our consent agenda, and these are items that are determined by our town manager to be routine matters and not necessarily needing discussion. But if there is an item that council would like to pull off and discuss individually, we can do that. I do like to read the items for under the consent agenda so that those in the audience as well as those at home know what we're voting on. Our first item is approval of the terms of and authorization for the mayor to execute an agreement with Garland DBS Incorporated to replace the existing gutters, downspouts, and fascia board at Fire Station 2, which is 654 Fitzhugh Boulevard. Item B is approval of the terms of and authorization for the mayor to execute contract amendment number 3 with TDOT relative to State Route 1 from Jackson Street to Sam Davis Road. Item C is approval of the terms of and authorization for the mayor to execute a contract with Miracle Recreation for the installation of a new playground at Sharp Springs Natural Area. And item D is approval of the terms of and authorization for the mayor to execute a contract with Miracle Recreation for the installation of a new playground at Pioneer Park. Is there anything council would like to pull off and talk about individually? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
A motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Consent agenda passes. We'll now move on to old business. Tonight we have 6 public hearings. Our first one is a consideration of a resolution relative to a plan of services for property located at tax map 49, parcel 39.01. Kevin?
Yes, Mayor and Council, this is the plan of services. It's for the annexation. That is the next item on your agenda. This is, would put in place all the services that the town would be providing upon effective date of annexation, which in this case is all services except for water, as this area is served by Consolidated Utility District. The Planning Commission did recommend approval unanimously.
Questions for Kevin on this? Kevin, no changes.
No changes.
Do I have, oh, we got to do a public hearing, sorry. We will now go to the public to see if there is anyone here to speak for or against this item. Seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing and go to the council for a motion.
Move we approve.
A motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Our next public hearing is consideration of an ordinance relative to the annexation and R3 zoning of property located on tax map 49, parcel 39.01, requested by RHB LLC, containing approximately 13.16 acres. The property is also referenced by 1294 South Lowry Street, and this is a second reading. Kevin?
Yes, Mayor and Council, this is an annexation request for about 13.16 acres to be annexed into the town and zoned R3 upon annexation. Currently, it is addressed as 1294 South Lowry Street. It currently does have access to South Lowry Street across a driveway across the railroad tracks. It also has frontage on Corner Drive, and access is utilized from Corner Drive. It also has access to Burton Farms Drive, but it's not currently used at this time. The land use plan would support low-density residential, which is 0 to 4 units per acre in this area. Surrounding zoning is a mix of R3 in town and RM and CG, which is commercial general in Rutherford County. Again, as I stated, the town would be providing all services other than water. Sewer is available from Burton Farms, and CUD has indicated there is sufficient fire flow in this area for fire hydrants. At the Planning Commission, we did discuss this. We don't have a plan or anything, a plat yet for this property, but we did discuss the access across the railroad there, and it was staff's recommendation, and I think certainly Planning Commission felt the same way, that upon development of this property, that the access to South Lowry Street be eliminated. It will have to remain in place for there is an adjoining tract that does provide access at their property through that way. But for this development, that the development of the property would eliminate that access for this property. Would only utilize Burton Farms Drive and Corner Drive. The Planning Commission did recommend approval of this annexation and zoning of R3 unanimously.
Questions for Kevin? Mark or Tim, anything you want to add?
Nothing new.
Okay. Seeing no questions for Kevin or Mark or Tim, then we will go to the public to see if there's anyone here to speak for or against this item. If you'll come forward and if you'll state your name and your address for us for the record, please.
Yes, Calvin here. I live at Burton Farm, 402 Longhorn Drive. I was just concerned about the drainage and runoff. Where's it going to run into? Because my house is directly behind the retention pond, and for the past few storms we had, it's filling up. It's running over. And I'm not in the flood zone, but it's a question. I don't know where they're going to run this drainage to. You know, if it's going to come into Burton Farm subdivision.
Okay. Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else here to speak for or against this item? I will close the public hearing, and Kevin, if you can come back up, and can you address that for us at this point?
As I said, we don't have any plans yet, so I don't know exactly what the plans are for drainage on this project yet. The detention pond he referenced is at basically on the Chicken Pike side of Burton Farm, so it's quite a distance away. I think that the way the property lays and all, it would be difficult to put any detention that way. If they did, there would have to be some sort of consent from the owners of that subdivision, because that's who owns that pond.
Also in our ordinance, they're not able to take the water off that property and put it on somebody else. We've got Tom Rose from Stormwater is here, if you'd like to bring him in and ask a question of him.
But again, again, we haven't seen any plans yet, so I don't know.
Talk a little bit about the process and when that when that is talked about during the process.
Yeah, if you all do annex this property tonight, their next step would be to submit subdivision plats and construction plans for review. And that's when we would look at all that in detail, and the Planning Commission would as well. And so that will be coming at some point in the future. I don't know what their plans are as to how quickly it'll be submitted, but that is the process. Again, as Brian said, they are not allowed to increase water to adjoining properties to utilize someone else's pond. Again, in theory, they could if they had consent from those owners, but they would have to have consent from the owners of that subdivision, which are the homeowners now, to do that. So it couldn't really happen unless they were allowed to do so.
Okay. Okay.
So basically what you're describing is that it'll probably be detained on the property.
It'll be detained in some manner on the property, this 13 acres, correct?
Okay.
Actually, I still would like for Tom to come in and kind of explain what that would look like, so he'll have some kind of general idea of what to expect on that
Okay.
new development.
But we
property.
won't know, just so
The
you know, we won't
specifics,
know,
right.
right, specifics.
Right.
Tom?
Thank you, Mayor Council. Typically, what we do, especially for properties, projects like this that are adjacent to county, we coordinate with the county on it as well. Mike Hughes, the county engineer on it, will send him construction plans to see where any discharge from this developed property may go into the county. And they require the developer to look at 2 downstream structures to make sure they're sized properly. Any ditches that receive water from off-site will be, the county will make sure that they're sized properly as well. So we coordinate with them a lot when their project's right on the boundary of Smyrna and the county.
Okay. Great. Also, Kevin, if you don't mind getting his contact info, and whenever that is submitted to us, will you just let him know so that he can kind of know what the way they're going to do it is?
Sure, we can give
That'd be
them
great.
details then.
Great, that'd be great. Any questions for Tom?
Well, I mean, probably not a question, just a comment. I'm just thinking, that property actually naturally flows to the south there, right? It's kind of sitting on a hill, going back down, away from Burton Farms, I think.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the topography is. I thought it may go towards South Lowry a little bit. Maybe it does go towards
Yeah,
south.
I think it goes towards
Lowry.
South Lowry, I think, because it sits on a hill, because you go up the hill to that red light. Just a comment.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, thanks, Tom. So we have closed the public hearing, but I will go to council for a motion.
I move we approve.
A motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second, any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item C is our housekeeping item, which is consideration of a resolution and memorandum of ordinance 21-05 relative to the annexation and R3 zoning of property located on tax map 49, parcel 39.01, comprising a total of approximately 13.16 acres. Do I have a motion?
So moved to approve.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Item D is our next public hearing, which is a consideration of an ordinance relative to the rezoning of property located on tax map 28, parcel 44.07, to go from R6 to PRD. It's requested by Greg Waldron, containing approximately 91.66 acres. The property is located on Old Nashville Highway, and this is a second reading. Kevin?
Yes, Mayor and Council, this is a rezoning request from R6 to PRD. It is on Old Nashville Highway. It's approximately 1,000 feet northwest of the intersection with Sam Ridley Parkway. Land use plan would support a mix of office, retail, and multifamily in this area. Surrounding zoning is a mix of R6, C2, and PRD, which is the Ashton Creek Farms multifamily PRD, which is across Old Nashville Highway from the site, and then R2 and A, or agricultural, in Laverne. The proposed PRD is for development containing 1,283 apartment units, which is a density of 14 units per acre. The units will be divided into 4 separate complexes, which will be built one at a time. Access will be from Old Nashville Highway via a new public street, as well as an extension of Needham Drive. There would also be a new public street which would connect to the large property to the east, which would provide a connection in addition to the Jeannie Lane connection to that property. The units will be largely 1 and 2 bedroom units ranging from 750 to 1,100 square feet. Block 4 would also have some townhome units, which that could be up to 2,000 square feet. All units would be masonry and cement board siding. The streets are proposed to have a landscape median, and parallel parking would be provided along a portion of the road segments. Front setbacks would be 20 feet to provide a more urban feel to the streetscape. A large park area is proposed, which would be maintained and used by all 4 phases, and each individual park, or each individual phase, will have amenities as well. I did attach the proposed plan. Nothing has changed on this since you looked at it at first reading. The Planning Commission did review it, did recommend approval with primarily just one condition, which was that the town will require a maintenance agreement with the Property Owners Association with regard to maintenance of the landscape areas that would be within the public right-of-ways. And that's all that I have.
We had quite a bit of discussion about this. Are there any questions for Kevin? Okay, seeing no questions for Kevin. Mark or Tim, anything else you want to add?
No, it's, you did a good job of pointing out to the public last time that this is already zoned for R6, which allows apartments there, and having the benefit of having it brought in now as a PRD gives us a lot more oversight. It could just be simple apartments, but because they're willing to do a PRD and dress this up for us, I think the public needs to be aware of that.
Agreed. Okay, seeing no questions for Kevin and nothing from our 2 Planning Commission members, I will go to the public to see if there's anyone here to speak for or against this item. If you'll come forward and state your name and your address, please.
Good evening. My name is Steve Waldron, and I reside at 1402 Hawthorne Place in Murfreesboro. I'm one of the property owners and developers of the property that adjoins this PUD. We would be to the east of this property, and we're in opposition of the roadway that basically comes out right at our property. This would require us to build some 1,100 additional feet back over to Jenny Lane. We're currently in Phase 1 and Phase 2 of a development that we have going, which includes about 2,700 feet of Jenny Lane. But we don't desire that roadway to come out into us at all. We were told that it was partially due to some major thoroughfare plan, but I have copies of your thoroughfare plan if you'd like to see them, that shows it's quite a bit to the north and east of us. It barely cut the corner of us. It came through the Coleman property, and then went, directly down to Old Nashville Highway. So it came from Motlow, went to Old Nashville. So
So tell me again which one you're talking about?
So can I point?
Absolutely.
So this roadway right here
Uh-huh.
dumps into our raw land. That's the largest tract of acreage that we have left, which is about 43 acres. It would make it tough we're not ready to develop that at this point in time. If we tried to sell it, then somebody's got to build that road, and it would split up that property. So we're just in complete opposition to that roadway abutting to us or coming into us or having us to require to join that.
Okay. Questions for Mr. Waldron?
Steve, when you say it'll split it up, I'm looking at the map there, and the phase we've been looking at's also been split up. And so your R6 and C2, in your opinion, does it not need to be divided?
Correct. Well, the C2 is already in development phase. It has a cul-de-sac that's in that end closest to that. And then, as I said, we continue on with Jenny Lane. So the R6 that's left, which would be to the west of Jenny Lane that we own, is like a 43-acre tract. And no matter how that road comes through there, it's gonna put a hardship on everybody, a lot of cost involved as well. And then that development would have to be dependent upon something that they're doing, which we would not prefer at all. But that's about 1,100 feet is what it would take to get from their property line back over to Jenny Lane. Today's land cost and development cost, that's about a $1.6 million piece of road.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I have a question. Have you had any conversations with
With the adjoining property owners?
Right.
Only with the engineer, and as I said, that's where it was passed on to us that was partially to meet a thoroughfare plan.
Any other questions, Mr. Waldron?
You said on our thoroughfare plan, though, that road is located somewhere else. Is that?
It's much more to the north and to the north and northwest of our property. It barely, as drawn, it comes in at kind of the apex of the turn up here on Montlow College Boulevard. It comes right through here and basically comes down here like that.
Okay.
Other questions?
And, you know, I would hate to even have to say this, but if it's approved as drawn, we'd probably have to seek some kind of a legal recourse against that.
Great,
Thank you.
Anyone else here to speak for or against this item? If you'll come forward and state your name and your address, please.
I'm Greg Waldron with Waldron Enterprises, 125 River Rock Boulevard in Murfreesboro. When we originally put this plan together to be submitted to the Planning Commission, we did not have the road shown on there, and it was requested by the Planning Department, Planning Engineering, and so we added it on there. And the road is an arterial road that is addressed in your thoroughfare plan, so that was the basis for, I believe, you'd have to check with Kevin, the basis for requesting that. So we were just following through with what we were directed, so.
Great.
Just.
Questions for Mr. Waldron? Thank you, sir.
All right, thanks.
Anyone else here to speak for or against this item? Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing, and Kevin, can we get some clarification?
It was something that staff requested. That was not shown on the original plan. The original plan had essentially the road that comes from Old National Highway and extends through the whole project and goes all the way into that last phase. Was obviously a part of it, but the road that it goes, and then of course the road goes west from that into the proposed, the 14 acres that's going to be a common park area. The road to the east was not there on the plan. We did request it because of the thoroughfare plan, and they were correct that it does shown on our thoroughfare plan. It is a little bit further north. It would go on the thoroughfare plan. It would connect from Old National Highway over to Montlow. It would be kind of a parallel frontage road to Jeannie Lane, and it was put in our thoroughfare plan because all this property, even more of this property, was zoned R6 at the time the thoroughfare plan was reviewed, and we were just looking at the number of units that could be there, and it was just to provide another way to carry traffic east and west without having to come back to Jeannie Lane or San Ridley Parkway. I mean, that's really what it was for. It's looked at as a 2-lane, 50-foot right-of-way street. It's not a major 4 or 5 lane street or anything like that. It's just to provide that secondary way to connect all those developments together. I don't know how many units they're looking at on the property to the east. The remaining area that's zoned R6, if it were all to develop R6, would be probably roughly the size of this, or could be. Now they may not, I know they have plans and maybe some more that may become commercial, and it may not be that many, but that, as far as the current zoning would allow. And so that's the reason it's on the thoroughfare plan. It was something that we added our last revision, which was about 4 years ago, almost 4 years ago now. So it is something that's not been there for many, many years, but it's something that we added at that time. So it was something, again, that we did request as staff. And it doesn't, what's proposed isn't exactly what's on the thoroughfare plan, but that happens quite often. We have a point A and a point B we're trying to get to, and as development happens, those roads get put in. And so it may not be exactly the route, but this would serve coming from Old National Highway through this site to the east, and then it could eventually go to Motlow. And so that's, if it's going to
So-
happen, that would have to happen when this develops, so.
So, in hearing Mr. Waldron that's opposing this concerns, not the part about legal ramification, that's not a factor for me at this point. What I want to know is, what do you think, does that need to continue to be there, hearing what he's saying about his property?
I understand where he's coming from his property, and it may not be where he wants to see it, or he doesn't want to see it at all, obviously. As the planner, for you all, I would recommend it be there. I think it's something that, I mean, you got 1,283 units here. Again, maybe not that many with the rest of that development, but certainly a lot. With that number of housing, plus area that's on the other side of, or on this and the other side of Motlow Boulevard that could potentially develop, just providing another way connection east-west with that number of units, I think is something that we should look for and look to
Well,
do.
and that's what I want to hear from you, is what do you think we as a town is
Right.
the best thing for us?
We didn't put it on a thoroughfare as planned for just as a whim. I mean, we thought it through, and working through our consultants who were working on our plan with us and all of that. So,
Okay. Council, other questions? Sure.
Say something. So being that it was on the plan, but it was actually in another location, when this one was brought to you and it was in this new location, was it not addressed then? Like, did you all not have a conversation as to how that looks different than on the thoroughfare plan, or you were just okay with it because it gave another route?
well, we looked at it from a practical standpoint. Again, what was on the thoroughfare plan would go through some of that park area, and also would go through actually into Laverne. I mean, we actually, what was on our thoroughfare plan. So, again, what we looked at it from the standpoint of, as this property, this particular 91.66 acres was what we were looking at the time, as it develops, how can we make the connection from Old Nashville Highway eastward to another connection to Motlow Boulevard in a way that still makes the connection we were trying to make within their development. And that happens all the time with new roadways as they come in. As development happens, it may not be exactly in the location that was shown on the thoroughfare plan, but the idea, that connection between that east-west, north-south, whatever that connection needs to be, you can still make that happen and make it work. And so that's why we looked at it with this. You know, it could be turned, I mean, it's just a drawing on paper right now. It could still be in that, roughly that same location, but turned to the northeast, and maybe it helps with the property to the east in their development or something like that. You know, how it goes from this point to Motlow Boulevard would be, we would look at that when that comes in the same way. So,
Is it not possible to have a conversation between the two owners and you? The two
I would
different
be
sides and you?
happy to sit down and
Because it
talk
sounds
with
like
them.
that didn't actually happen. Mr. Waldron, who came up first, said that he had talked to the engineer, but it doesn't sound like there was actually a conversation between all of you all, you as the planner and the two different sides.
I did
of
not
this
sit down
development.
with the two sides. No, I did not sit down and
Okay.
talk with them specifically about it. No. We've had, my staff and I have had some conversations with Mr. Waldron and his brother, you know, during this process, but not before.
Which Mr. Waldron?
I'm sorry.
They're both Waldrons,
Steve-
kind
yes.
of going at this. right?
Steve Waldron
Okay, all right.
and his brother. We've talked with them, and of course, we've talked with Greg and his family as well, but we have not all sat down together in a room and talked about it, no.
If I'm hearing you correctly, getting from point A to point B and staff recommendation on the location of this is appropriate, if I'm hearing you correctly. And
Yeah.
I think we've learned a little bit of a valuable lesson with Jeannie Lane along the years. We've tried to make that a secondary all the way across where Academy Sports and all that is now, connecting over into the Potomac area. So I think we have to be cognizant of where this road goes. It makes sense to planning to put it in a way that it's going to access through the next property. That's why I asked Mr. Steve Waldron about separating his R6 and his C2, much like the first phase is already done. And I don't know, it just kind of looks like what you're saying makes better sense to me.
Well, it also kind of seems like you've got to work with what you're brought.
Well, the thoroughfare plan is a plan.
Right.
It's not concrete, it's not set in stone, and sometimes when something develops like this,
Absolutely.
and then the neighboring property, in this case, the other Waldron family, is taking what got there first and somewhat
Adding to it.
disagreeing with it, if you will. And I'm a little surprised, honestly, that you guys didn't talk. I mean, aren't you your family? So it's kind of like, I would think that would have been resolved in some aspect somewhere along the line before we come in here and start. That's just me. I'll leave it there.
And I'll add it, a thoroughfare plan is put in place to move traffic and to move vehicles.
It's a plan.
It's a plan, and you can look at this, and you can look at the large amount of R6 and know that we've got to move a lot of people. And if we limit the ways that we move them, because someone maybe not is as happy where it's stubbed in, and they may have to work through it, I'm not so sure that's our intent. Yeah, and we haven't even seen how the second piece is going to be brought in yet, so there's still opportunities to move through the future development of the adjacent track.
Other comments or questions? Okay, we have been through our public hearing. Do I have a motion? Oh, wait, were there any other questions, comments?
I just felt, I guess, yet again, I, like Mark, believe there should have been a conversation to have addressed this prior to it coming to us, now that we're having to deal with it, when it seemed like it could have been something that could have been addressed on the front end. And I understand now that it hasn't been, so now we have to deal with it. But it just seems like, I understand where the road is, and that we need a thoroughfare to be able to move cars. But if our plan said something different, was there not a way to look at this from the standpoint of trying to create a thoroughfare that would be receptive to both parties? Because if you're coming in with a plan and the plan is still being worked, then on the front end, you can say, well, this is what it looked like before, but this is what we need to be able to achieve, and then have that information dispelled to both parties. And in this case, I think both parties should have been told, because I understand that there is another development that is underway. Yours hasn't come along as far as this one, but I feel like that should have been done.
Other comments or questions? Do we have?
One question for Steve. This is our second reading on this. Are you just finding this out, or?
We were out of town for the first reading in the planning commission. And, we would also say, in light of...
Can I ask you to, just so that the public can hear as well?
So we were out of town for the first reading and for the planning commission. And then once we saw that it was a thoroughfare plan much to the north and to the east, and that's why it had been changed, we were still curious why There's plenty of other raw property, as I said, pointing out the Coleman Farm and all, why it would all bear back to us to have to put in this additional road when we're already putting in so much of Jenny Lane as we are already having to do.
Were you here for planning commission, though?
No.
Okay, I kept thinking you were, but, I
Yep.
mean, okay.
So my apologies for that.
That's all right.
Other, thank you. Okay. Other comments or questions? Seeing none, do I have a motion?
I move we approve.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Discussion.
Well, Mayor, I'm like you. You know, if somebody comes to the podium and makes a comment that they may have to take it in a different direction, that's not where I fall. It's like, this has been in planning now for several months, and this is the first, I think, that we've heard of. And that's no knock on Mr. Waldron or his availability over there, but we've hammered this out pretty well for a while. So that's just why I feel like at this point I'd have to be able to continue to support it.
I agree. Kevin, is this the first you're hearing about it as well?
We had received a letter from Steve Waldron's brother, so we had heard about. I knew they had some concerns about the roadway.
And I don't want you to feel like that I feel like you should be the mediator between two property owners. I want you to feel like you should bring to us what is the best thing for the town. Now, if changing things around is what's best for the town, but I also don't think we should make one landowner wait on somebody else until they're ready to develop their property. So, I don't feel like you should have to be a mediator between two property owners. So, other questions or comments?
I don't think you should have to be a mediator either. I also don't want to come across as if taking other means is a reason to do something. It would have just seemed to have been such a simple process to deal with this before now.
And I agree, and I guess my frustration is, for how many months have we been dealing with this, and this is the first time
We're hearing
we've heard
any of it.
anything. We've heard nothing from
Right.
the Waldrons, from Steve and his brother, we have an issue with this, would you look into this? It's second reading under public hearing, and I guess that's where my frustration, especially when it's two of the biggest parcels that we have that are being developed. And so that's where my frustration is. I just don't want planning to feel like and I don't think that was where you were coming across either, that they should have to be mediating. But I just wanted, I wanted you all to know that that's not how I think we, including Raquel, feels, is that y'all should have to mediate that. Other questions or comments? We have a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. We'll move on to our next public hearing, which is a consideration of an ordinance to create Town of Smyrna Municipal Code Title 6-401 to 6-405 relative to policy and procedure for distribution of unclaimed property by the police department. This is a second reading. Jeff, are you taking this?
Yes, Mayor and Council, as we have discussed before, this ordinance will provide a mechanism for unclaimed property that the police department has to be disposed of. Formerly, they would have to go through the state of Tennessee unclaimed property. This mechanism now will allow them to utilize a number of means. Usually, we use the internet for our auctions, gov deals, but this will allow them to dispose of the unclaimed property.
Questions for Jeff on this? Seeing no questions, we'll go to the public to see if anyone's here to speak for or against this item. Seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing, go to council for a motion.
Move to approve.
Thanks. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. We'll move on to our next public hearing, which is a consideration of an ordinance relative to the amendment of the Town of Smyrna Municipal Code Title 8, Alcoholic Beverages, Chapter 2, Beer, Section 8-214, 1, 2, 4, and 5, permits of certain premises prohibited. This is a second reading. Jeff?
Yes, Mayor and Council, and we've spoken of this extensively. What this ordinance amendment would do is it would remove any predetermined distance prohibitions from locations from daycares, funeral homes, churches, other places of public gathering. Currently, it's 250 feet for off-premise and 500 feet for on-premise. And we began looking around and noticing a lot of our neighboring communities have either severely reduced or totally removed the distance requirements for their sale of beer. And one of the reasons is once you have liquor by the drink, then the state of Tennessee controls that, controls those locations. And you could sell something that is higher content of alcohol, over 8%, which is defined as alcoholic beverages in the state of Tennessee. They would be able to possibly go into 50 feet from a daycare while they would be unable to sell beer at that location. And as we become more urban and there is less availability of restaurants and those types of things, that's why we have proposed this ordinance, which would still allow for the beer board to make those decisions if they felt that something wasn't right for a certain area. There's just not a predetermined distance between those.
Great. We had quite a bit of discussion about this. Anything else anybody wants to add before we go to the public? Okay, seeing nothing else, then we will go to the public to see if there's anyone here to speak for or against this item. Seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing and go to the council for a motion.
Move we approve.
A motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Thanks. Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item G is our last public hearing for the night. It's the consideration of an ordinance amending Title II, Chapter 1 of the Smyrna Municipal Code relative to the Arts Commission, and this is a second reading. Jeff?
Yes, Mayor and Council. This amendment would not add any text. It would just completely delete and remove text of Title II, Chapter 1, leaving it as reserved. This would remove the Arts Commission as a publicly appointed body.
Questions for Jeff? Raquel, anything extra? Any questions or comments from council?
Just to reiterate something we've said in the past, this doesn't mean we're anti-arts or anything like that. It just means that it's a kind of a duplication of services, and that we feel like the work that the Arts Commission has been doing will continue in full force.
Yes.
Sound about right?
That is correct.
Great. Okay, this is a public hearing, so I'll go to the public to see if there's anyone here to speak for or against this item. Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing and go council for motion.
Move to approve.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second, any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. We'll now move on to item 8, which is our new business. We have a couple of items under our Planning Commission. Our first one is consideration of an ordinance relative to the annexation and PRD zoning of properties located on Tax Map 51, parcels 16.00 and 18.03, requested by John Burns, containing approximately 32.59 acres. The properties are located on Lee Road, and this is a first reading. Kevin?
Yes, Mayor and Council, this is an annexation request. It's on Lee Road, about 1,000 feet east of the intersection with Montgomery Way. The site also has two streets, Spregan Way and Napa Valley Drive, that have been stubbed into it from adjoining developments. Land use plan would support medium-density residential development in this area. The surrounding zoning is the PRD, which is the Woodmont, Wood Point, and Creekstone Village PRDs in town, and RM in Rutherford County. The town would be providing all services to this area upon annexation. Sewer would be extended to this development from the Olive Branch sewer that is currently under construction. The proposed PRD is for a 95-lot, single-family development. Access would be from the 2 locations on Lee Road as well as the 2 stub streets from the adjoining developments. Minimum square footage of the houses will be 1,800 square feet. The overall density is about 2.92 houses per acre. Did attach the pattern book that was submitted with this. It is relatively consistent with all the other single-family PRDs that are in this area. Planning Commission did review this, did recommend approval, just with the condition that a traffic study be submitted in compliance with Section 3.200 of the zoning ordinance.
Questions for Kevin?
Hey Kevin, I was reading on the lot size, it's about, I think it said minimum 7,000 square feet on the lots. Is that pretty much average on all of them? And that's what's already there as well, is that
Right.
correct?
That's pretty typical of what we're seeing on these PRDs. The single-family lots range from 6,500 to maybe 8 or 9,000. Every now and then on the cul-de-sac, you might get one that's 10 or 11.
Okay.
But that's pretty typical of what we're seeing in these residential.
R3 is what?
R3 is 10,000.
10,000, okay.
Yeah, just to tag on Gary's comment, it has been pretty much a regular occurrence to see it now. I remember as we all met, a year or so ago to talk about this because it was creating parking problems and things of that nature. And I think the council made the decision then that we'd require 35-foot setbacks minimum
Right.
to alleviate the concerns of parking and so forth. So he's being consistent. That's why the Planning Commission looked at it that way. He's being consistent what he's done over there.
Questions, Tim or Mark, anything else you want to add? Thanks. Any other questions for Kevin? Seeing none, do I have a motion?
I move we approve.
A motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
Don't everybody speak up at once.
Feel like I'm
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay. Item 2 is consideration of an ordinance relative to the rezoning as a property located on tax map 33, part of parcel 6.00, and tax map 33B, Group B, parcel 3.01, to go from R1 to R3, requested by Sam Coleman on behalf of Ronald S. Patterson et al. And Mary Ridley Livesey et al. The properties requested to be rezoned contain approximately 72 acres and are located at the terminus of Spring Hill Drive, and this is a first reading. Kevin?
Yes, Mayor and Council, this is one large tract and one really small tract, but they're under the common ownership, and they have all been requested to be rezoned from R1 to R3. They total about 72 acres. It is, Spring Hill Drive certainly is stubbed into this, as well as several other streets into this property from 2 other developments. The land use plan would support medium-density residential development in this area, and the surrounding zoning is a mix of R1 and R3. Planning Commission did review this and did recommend approval unanimously.
Questions for Kevin on this?
That little parcel, the parcel 3.01, was that part of a bigger parcel that was previously developed or something?
I believe it's kind of a remnant piece when they developed, I believe that was Hunter's Point, like section 8 and 9 and 10, somewhere in that range. That little piece was somehow got left over. It wasn't included in a lot, so that's it's just a small little remnant that was left. Yeah.
Other questions?
There are 2 entrances in it?
There's 3 streets
Okay,
within the
I see.
Hunters Point development,
Okay,
including
Spring
Spring
Hill.
Hill Drive,
Okay.
that are stubbed, and then Johnstown Drive and Moore Hill Avenue as well.
Okay.
Are all stubbed into this property.
Other questions? Tim or Mark, anything to add?
Again, consistent with what's there currently. I know that there had been probably some discussion from some neighborhoods that this could possibly be apartments or condos or townhomes, and it's not. It's totally consistent with R3. And just maybe even a general comment, you know, I know that we looked at a stub street earlier with a commercial property, and here again, we have another property that's being developed. Our planners have come in, they've looked at it, and, you know, from the prior properties and said, okay, we need stubs here, here, and here to help with traffic flow. So from a planning perspective, very consistent with what we do with our properties as they develop, because they don't always all come in uniformly and at the same time. And again, our goal is to move traffic through subdivisions or through commercial developments as well.
Other questions or comments? Seeing none, do we have a motion?
Move to approve.
A motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second, any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Our third item under Planning Commission is a consideration of an ordinance relative to the rezoning of property located on tax map 54, parcel 15.24, to go from R3 to PRD, requested by Sean Collins, containing approximately 13.3 acres. The property is located at 8964 Rocky Fork, Amable Road, and this is a first reading. Kevin?
Mr. Mayor and Council, this is a rezoning request for a piece of property. It's about 1,100 feet southeast of the intersection of Kedron Church Road and Rocky Fork Allenville Road. Land use plan would support a medium-density residential development in this area. Surrounding zoning is the Bankside and Westover PRDs in town and RM in Rutherford County. The proposed PRD is for a development containing 33 single-family lots and 24 townhomes for a density of 4.29 units per acre. Access would be from Rocky Fork Allenville Road with 2 streets that are being stubbed into the surrounding properties. The single-family houses would range from 1,600 to 3,000 square feet, and the townhomes would be 1,250 square feet minimum. The townhomes would also be age-restricted. This site is served by CUD for water and currently does not have adequate fire flow, so building permits would not be issued until that issue is resolved. I did, as on all these, I did attach the proposed plan, which has further information in there about the proposed PRD. The Planning Commission did review this to recommend approval 6-4-0 against with 1 abstention.
Questions for Kevin? Tim, anything to
The
add?
density of this one, Kevin?
Again, it's about 4.29 units per acre is the overall density, which is right in that wheelhouse of what we look at for medium density.
Any other questions?
Mayor, I will be commenting or voting on this.
Tim, anything to add?
Just again, to emphasize, as far as the townhomes go, they are age restricted. So, you know, Jeff, help me out with the qualifications on that. I don't want to say the wrong age.
55.
55, thank you. That's what I want to make sure. And it's better than 80% or better
80% or more.
to meet that. And so, again, we've asked the development community for these types of developments for our seniors. And this is a nice mix, and it's actually, it mirrors another, I believe that we also approved that also had the mix with the senior, or is close to it. And this is a nice area for our seniors.
I will say I've had more positive comments about the 55 plus and more people talking about it than stuff I've had in a long time. So,
Green space.
say
Green
again?
space. Is this, like, this only area?
Yeah, they've got, let me see if I got a drawing that shows it a little bit
Am
better.
I looking at the wrong one?
It's kind of concentrated kind of in the front as you come in, be on the right-hand side of the development as you come in. pavilion, fire pit areas, as well as that's where the mail kiosks are going to be, and there's some additional off-street parking for the townhomes as well, and open space there. And you have the detention pond, which is kind of in that top left corner there. But that's what they're proposing. And it meets our requirements.
Okay.
Are there questions or comments for Kevin? Okay, seeing none, do I have a motion?
I move we approve.
A motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second, any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes with one abstention. Item 4 is consideration of a request for approval of a subdivision utilizing septic systems by Michael's Homes. The request is for a 2-lot subdivision on 2.51 acres located on West Jefferson Pike in the R1 zone. Kevin?
Yes, Mayor and Council, this is is before you because it is a subdivision utilizing septic systems. Typically, you all don't see subdivision plats, but these do come up occasionally. This is located at 7773 West Jefferson Pike. Sewer will be extended as a part of the Jefferson Pike widening project, but it is not available at this site at the present time. This plat is a part of the overall Shorts Crossing subdivision, and sewer will be extended into the remainder of the development. This plat would create 2 lots. There is an existing house that would remain, and there would be a new lot created for a new home to be built. The existing house would continue to utilize its existing septic system, and then you would have the new system for the new lot and the new house. The Planning Commission did review this, did approve it. There are some conditions primarily regarding fire flow. The fire flow along Jefferson Pike will be improved greatly as a part of this, same time the sewer line gets extended. Currently, it's only about 600 gallons per minute, so they will have to sprinkler the house, and there's 3 conditions though, and just to shorten it a little bit, essentially they will have to build a house that is less than 3,600 square feet total under roof. That's not just conditioned space, that includes the garage, porches, all those kind of things. And they will have to sprinkle the house in order to meet the fire code requirements. So they are, that's what they're wanting to do, so that's why it is in front of you as well. And again, per that Planning Commission recommendation, staff would recommend approval.
Questions for Kevin? Seeing none, do I have a motion?
Mayor, I think Jerry and I probably both are not going to be voting on this for the simple reason that was his family's property, and I helped assist him with that. So we have a conflict, and we won't be voting or discussing. Am I speaking right for you too, Jerry? I don't want to speak for Jerry.
Jerry, anything you want to say?
No,
Since he
Mark
kind of
said it
just
just
spoke
fine.
for you?
You did a
Okay.
good job.
Okay.
I'll move we approve.
I have a motion to approve, and I have a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes with 2 abstentions. Move on to item 5, which is consideration of a resolution authorizing the acquisition of property by negotiation or condemnation for the purpose of carrying out the utility portion of the Spring Hill Drive Extension project. Kevin?
This is a mandatory referral. As you all are well aware, the town is looking at the extension of Spring Hill Drive. As a part of that, the water, sewer, and natural gas will also be extended. And as a result, the sanitary sewer extension has an off-site connection point. It's about 1,640 feet east of the project. So this will require the acquisition of 3 permanent sewer easements to put that sewer line in. The Planning Commission did review this, did find that it is consistent with our long-range plan, and did recommend approval.
Questions for Kevin on this? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
I have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second, any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. We now move on to item B, which is packaged liquor board report. There were no applications for the town council to consider at this time, so we will move on to item C, Rex. It is consideration of submission of public debt notices to the comptroller of the Treasury.
Yes, ma'am. Mayor and council, each time we incur debt with the town, the comptroller requires us to announce this at a public meeting. Tonight, we have 2 loans that we're announcing. One is for the water meter replacement project that we've completed, that we're starting. It's a $3 million amount, and the term of that is for 20 years, and the interest rate is 0.68%. The second loan is for a phase of the wastewater treatment plant expansion. It is for $17,200,000. It's for a term of 30 years, and the interest rate on that is 0.9%. Excellent interest rates, and this is through the State Revolving Fund Loans Program.
Great. No action has to be taken by us, is that correct? You just
No.
need to make the announcement?
Yes, ma'am.
Great. Well, sure is nice to seeing loan amounts being done at that amount.
Very nice.
So, questions for Rex on this, anybody? Okay, thanks for making that announcement. Now, at this point, I'm going to ask the public to bear with us. This is every year I'm doing the board appointments, which is something that's really important, but it is kind of a long process to get all of our boards and committees appointments done. So item D is consideration of appointments to boards and committees. Our first one is appointment of 2 members to the Beer Board to serve 4-year terms ending in 2025. This is an appointment by the majority of the council, and we only had 2 applications. Amanda Newbern, who is a reappointment, and she did reapply, and Michael Forrest. And since we only have 2 appointments, then I will go to the council for a motion.
Move to approve the appointments to the Beer Board.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay, that's a Beer Board. Next is mayor to appoint 3 members to the Planning Commission to serve 2-year terms ending in 2023. This is mayor appointment. We had Andrew Adkins III to ask to be, he did reapply, and Tony Dover also reapplied. Regina Medlin rolled off. We have had Amy Wise apply, Amanda Newbern, Anthony Clemens, Charles Skurr, Shauna Clay Forrest, Michael Williams, and Phil Wilson. I will be appointing Andrew Adkins III, Tony Dover, and Amy Wise. Miss Diane, if I go too fast, stop me. Item 3 is appointment of 1 member to the Board of Zoning Appeals to serve a 3-year term ending in 2024. And I need to make sure by our computer I've got everybody. Give me 1 second. I'm showing that this is an appointment by the council, and I'm showing Steve Sullivan asked to be reappointed and Doug Brown. We had 2 people apply for 1 position, so at this time I will open the floor for nominations.
Mayor, I nominate Steve Sullivan.
Okay, we have Steve Sullivan nominated. Any other nominations? And I will close the floor to nominations, and since we only have 1 to appoint and 1 person nominated, all in favor of Steve Sullivan, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay. Next is mayor to appoint 1 member to the Historic Zoning Commission to serve a 5-year term ending in 2026. This is a mayor appointment, but confirmed by majority vote of the council. We had Lynn Arnold, who has reapplied, as well as Kelsey Dempsey and Kedrick Rutz. I will appoint Lynn Arnold. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Our next one is appointment of 2 members to the Smyrna Industrial Development Board to serve 6-year terms ending in 2027. This is a majority vote by council. We had Kedrick Rutz, who reapplied, and he was the only one who applied, but we got in touch with Kelsey Dempsey, who had applied for historic zoning, and she said that she would be willing and asked to be considered for the Smyrna Industrial Development Board. So only having 2 people that have applied, and only 2 spots to appoint. All in favor of Kedrick Rutz and Kelsey Dempsey, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay. Next is our project assistants, which is appointment of 2 members to the project assistants to serve 3-year terms ending in 2024. This is a majority council vote. We had Michael Williams, who asked to be reappointed, as well as Harrison Woodward, who asked to be reappointed. We also had Shauna Clay Forrest, who was a new applicant, but also asked to be on stormwater. So since we had 3 apply for 2 positions, I'll open the floor for nominations. Do I have any nominations?
Mayor, I'll nominate Michael Williams and Harrison Woodward to return.
Okay. Any other nominations? Then I will close the floor to nominations, and since we only have 2 to fill 2 spots, all in favor of Michael Williams and Harrison Woodward, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Our next one is appointment of 2 members to the Citizens for Sister City Relations Committee to serve 3-year terms ending in 2024. This is mayor nominated and confirmed by majority vote of the council. Mark Michelson, I'll get it at some point. Mark Michelson asked to be reappointed, and Mary Ann Rogers asked to be reappointed. And Amy Wise asked to serve. She was placed on the Planning Commission, and William David Ingram asked to serve. I will appoint Mark Michelson and Mary Ann Rogers. This does need to be confirmed by council. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we also need to, and Jeff, I forgot, I asked you earlier, and I'm kind of putting you on the spot. Is it my nomination for council, for the council appointment, since it's mayor nominated?
Yes.
Okay, so but it needs to be confirmed by council, is that right?
Give me 1 minute.
I'm sorry. I forgot what you told me earlier.
I
guess it doesn't hurt if it's.
I think you can do it, but I don't believe that it is, because they wouldn't have to vote. It's you or your designee.
Okay.
So they wouldn't not vote for you if you chose yourself, so, or
Well, they might, who
well, they
knows?
couldn't. But give me just a second. Okay. No, just your point.
Just my appointment. Jerry, congratulations. I am going to appoint you.
Mark, would you speak for me?
Jerry says he's congratulations.
Great, thank you. Okay, so that is item 7. We'll now move on to item 8, which is mayor to appoint 4 members to the Parks Advisory Board to serve 2-year terms ending in 2023, and 1 non-voting member who is outside the city limits to serve an unexpired term ending in 2022. This is a mayor appointment, but confirmed by majority vote of the council. Ernie Feltz did reapply. Charles Skur, who currently serves on stormwater, asked to apply. Carl Boyd, Clay Phillips, Noah Moran, and Michael Forrest. I will be appointing Ernie Phelps, Charles Skur, Carl Boyd, and Clay Phillips as the 4 members to serve the 2-year within the city limits spots. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. We'll now do the non-voting county rep. Eli Victory, it lives outside of the city limits and has applied for the non-voting member, and I will appoint Eli Victory. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we will now move on to Package Liquor Board, and this is majority vote for council. We have 1 spot to fill. Rhett Kimball asked to be reappointed. We also had Kedrick Rutz as well as Michael Forrest. And Kedrick, I'm pretty sure, was our
He's on
IDB person. And Michael we put on the beer board. So I will open the floor to nominations.
I'll nominate Rhett Kimball.
Any other nominations? Then I will close the floor to nominations, and all in favor, since 1 person and only 1 nomination, all in favor of Rhett Kimball, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Congratulations, Rhett. Okay. That was packaged liquor. Okay, next is Smyrna Housing Authority, and is the mayor to appoint 1 member to the Smyrna Housing Authority to serve a 5-year term ending in 2026. Tommy Francis, Michael Forrest, and Natasha Floyd all applied. I will appoint Tommy Francis to the Smyrna Housing Authority. Next is item 11, which is the appointment of 4 members to the Stormwater Advisory Committee to serve a 2-year term ending in 2023, and 1 member to serve an unexpired term ending in 2022. Correct. Okay, so 3 and 1. Okay. So, and let me also say this. Charles Skur was on Stormwater, but wanted to move to Parks, and we try not to have people on multiple boards. So we had Daniel Newbern reapplied, Doug Brown reapplied, Rhett Kimball reapplied, and Natasha Floyd and Shauna Clay Forrest also applied. So we have 4 spots to serve 2-year terms and 1 member to do a term ending in 2022. But then we also have Charles Skur's position. So we have 5 people that have applied to fill 5 spots. The only thing we have to decide is which 4 members are going to do, is that right? Serve a 2-year term, and then 1 member to the unexpired term of 2022.
So on this list, though, you have Rhett Kimball on the list, but you just appointed him.
To the packaged liquor,
Right.
which never meets.
Oh.
Well, let me say this. It has met before. When's the last time that it met?
Last year, 1 time,
Okay.
and then it was
Yeah.
So it doesn't
probably 3 years
regularly
before
meet.
that.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. So I guess we just need to decide, and Jeff, how do we need to do that? Do we need to choose the ones and do it individually for the 4 that are going to be the 2-year terms ending 2023?
Yes, I mean, I think it would be clean if you don't have to do them individually, but those that are the
Those 4.
Yeah.
Okay. Do I have a motion for Daniel Newbern, Doug Brown, and Rhett Kimball, and Natasha Floyd to be our 4 people who serve the 2-year terms ending in 2023?
I'll make that motion.
Have a
I'll
motion?
second HG's motion.
Okay, you're seconding HG's motion. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Then, do I have a motion for Shauna Clay Forrest to do the term that is ending 2022?
I'll move that we approve Shauna Clay Forrest for the 1-year term ending in 2022.
I'll second.
And we have a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Miss Diane, you good? Okay. Okay. Item 12 is appointment of 3 members to serve 3-year terms to the Charity Assistance Board ending in 2024, and 1 member of the Town Council to serve a 1-year term ending in 2022. This is majority council vote. Jeff, when you and I talked, the Town Council is either myself or my designee. Is that correct?
I didn't remember us talking about this one, but I will tell you.
Good, I'm glad I'm not the only one who forgot our conversation, and I will go. Tell you what, while you're looking that up, let's talk about Kay Reynolds asked to be reappointed. Barbara Abera asked, applied. Matt Ford applied. Natasha Floyd applied, but we just put her on stormwater, and then Angie Beeson. So I will open the floor for nominations for charity assistance.
Mayor, what am I doing? I'm nominating Barbara Abera. Is that her last name?
Okay. And any other
I'll
nominations?
nominate Matthew Ford.
Okay. And any others? I need one more. Kay Reynolds is the one to be reappointed. Natasha Floyd we put on stormwater, and Angie is one that has not applied before.
Which one has not applied before?
Kay's
That
the
you
one
have
that
open
is,
that's not on
Kay's the
others?
one that's asked to be reappointed.
Okay. But you need another one beside Kay, or?
No, we've not put Kay, we've not
Okay,
nominated.
well, I'll nominate Kay to be reappointed.
Okay. So we have, anyone else? Okay, then we have 3, I will close nominations. We have 3 people to appoint: Kay Reynolds, Barbara Ibarra, and Matt Ford. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, Jeff, what'd you figure out? Does council need to do?
This is on the Charity Assistance Fund Board.
Correct.
Correct? One is your, let me get back to it.
I think it says that you need to be.
One member shall be the mayor or the mayor's appointed town council designee. All the remaining 5 members shall be appointed by the town council by a majority vote.
Okay, so we just did that, so the town council is either myself or council appoint, or a council appointee.
yes.
Raquel, would you be willing to continue to serve?
Yes, I will.
Great. Perfect. Thank you, ma'am. That is a rewarding board, but I would think a hard board because there's so many deserving groups, so I bet that's hard ones to decide. Okay, item 14 is appoint 1 member. 13, mayor to appoint 1 member to serve a 3-year term on the Memorial Subcommittee ending 2024, and I will appoint Jerome Dempsey, who has been with us from the beginning on the Memorial Committee. And then our item 14 is appoint 1 member to the Sister City Subcommittee to serve a 2-year term ending 2023. We had no applicants for that, and I would ask that you all, this is the subcommittee that looks over the money for the sister city. It's not going to meet that often. I'm not even sure it's met before yet. Has it, Brian? Yeah. So if you all think of anybody who might have some familiarity with the sister city committee that may not, I don't know that we necessarily want somebody that's on the sister city committee, but that might know a little bit about it. If you could encourage them to apply, then we can fill that position at a later date.
Mayor, I'd like to correct what I said too. They have met one time, just like the Jeff Coos, one time, so that we could get the committees together.
To get started.
And get started. So I
Okay.
think that's the only time they've met.
Okay. And the individual that was on there did not ask to be reappointed. Okay. Okay. To the public, I'd like to say thank you to those that have submitted application and asked to serve. We really appreciate it. I think you can see it's quite a few people that ask to be put on committees. We do our absolute best to get as many people on committees as we can. If you were not chosen this year, I hope you will consider serving again next year. Okay, other.
Yes, Mayor and Council, I do have one item that I'd like to bring forward under other this evening, and I apologize that you do not have this. This actually came to us today. It's kind of a unique situation. I'm going to ask you to allow us to approve a contract with Easy Go Golf Carts through Omni Partners, which is a partnership for municipal buying. We have the ability to do that without going through a bid. And the uniqueness to this situation is, as some of you know, like with COVID, we've had a tremendous problem receiving some vehicles. And golf carts are no different. Right now, if we ordered golf carts, it's going to take about 6 months to get golf carts because of COVID backups. So what we're looking at is replacement of our golf carts on a 4- and 5-year cycle that we've normally done at the golf course for this year, for this calendar year, but it would be out of the 2021-2022 budget. We need to order the carts now to get into the queue so that we could take possession of the golf carts somewhere around the 1st of September, and the payment would come out of next year's budget, which is going to be projected in the budget. It's already something we know it's going to be there. It's our normal cycle, so it's got some uniqueness to it. But it's one of those things, if we wait till July 1st and order the golf carts, they're telling us it would be April of next year, and that would put some of our golf carts as much as 6 years out. And we're already having on the 5-year carts some issues with batteries and stuff, and I really don't want to see us turn around and rebuild golf carts that we're going to turn around and change out. So there is some uniqueness to this, but we do have the opportunity to place the order now through a process that's legal for us to do, and then we wouldn't take possession or payment until September. The total cost of the contract is $169,750 is for replacement of 80 golf carts.
Based on your projections for the budget and all the budget work you've already done, this was planned on being in the budget?
Yes, ma'am. It's going to be in the budget anyway. It's our normal cycle.
That's what I was going to say, and it's normal cycle for
Yes,
our
ma'am.
golf carts. Questions or comments?
How did I miss anything on that?
No, sir.
Do I have a motion to approve?
I move to approve.
Do I have a second? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Anything else under other? Brian D., anything else under other?
Nothing under other, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Okay, moving on to status reports and announcements. Ms. Diane? Brian?
Mayor and Council, I do have a couple things I just wanted to bring to the attention of the community and to the council. One, just wanted to point out, most of us know he's kind of a staple in town, Marty Luffman, a State Farm agent that's been involved in our community for a long time. He was involved in a pretty serious automobile accident over the weekend. He came home, fell, and is back in the hospital. I think he's having some back issues. Just wanted to mention, we wish Marty the best in his recovery, and I'm sure you'd appreciate our prayers during this time. The VITA opportunity for the community, again, I just want to remind everybody, if your household earnings are below $66,000 in 2020, you're eligible to use the VITA free tax prep program. That's a combination of the United Way and Smyrna Town Hall. It's located here in our office, the back of our building where the old police department offices were located. It started February 10th, will go through April the 14th. You can call 615-830-7940 or visit www.yourlocaluw.org/VITA to schedule your appointment. So I know they've been getting some pretty good folks showing up out back for this, and it's typically they're here Wednesday through Saturday. So you do have to have an appointment though because of COVID. This weekend is Spring Forward Weekend. We get to gain an hour going forward, so don't forget to set your clocks forward the hour this weekend. Most of us will set our alarms to get up at 2 a.m. on Sunday and make that change into March 14th. Mine may say an hour early, about 9 o'clock on Saturday night. So just want to remind everybody of that. Also, coming up very quickly is Easter. And we're very happy to announce that we're moving forward with our Easter buffet this year. It's going to have some protocols because of COVID. We'll be taking 2 sittings, one at 11 that will go from 11 to 12, and then one from 1 to 2 p.m. Reservations are required because we'll be seating, it'll be limited seating. The adults are $21.95, children 6 to 12 is $12.95, and children under 5 are free. Call 615-459-4444 to make your reservation, and I will tell you, about half the reservations for the 11 o'clock seating is already booked. A lot of folks going to be there. It's going to be a lot of fun, so come out and enjoy some great food and fellowship on Easter Sunday. That is April the 4th. The next thing I want to point out, love where you live. We have had many conversations recently about litter on our streets. I'm very happy to tell you that Tom Rose and Kathy, our PIO, have been working with a lot of our staff, Kathy Farrell, with our staff to bring together some ideas of things that we can do to help curb some of the litter in our community. They've got some great ideas, and they're going to be doing some PSAs, those kind of things. But it's, I just remind everybody, it's an individual effort not to litter. You make a choice to litter or not to litter. But we're going to be doing some things like how to secure your trash, through trash bags for your car, working with some things that we'll get as far as out in the community for education and those type things. So just encourage everyone to consider keeping our community beautiful. Don't litter, and we'll do our part, and if you'll do your part. So the last thing I have, I received an email from Kevin Arnold, our chief of police, the other day on one of our officers by the name of Justin Hayden. And I'm not going to go into deep detail on this. It's a great letter from an insurance agent that from Farm Bureau, wanted us to know one of his clients had an accident on Potomac Place. It was an elderly lady. She was on her way. I think she was in her 60s. She was on her way to get groceries. Hey, I'm 60 years old. I consider myself elderly. It's my age bracket. I can say what I want to. Okay? She was on her way to She was on her way to get that's all right. She was on her way to get groceries for her elderly mother in her 80s, early 90s, and had an accident, was pretty tore up. Our officer did a great job of calming her down, explaining to her what would happen, and helping her get in touch with her insurance company. He helped her get home. He actually, on his own time, went above and beyond and went and actually purchased, she gave him a list. He went and purchased the groceries, brought them back to her, and also included out of his pocket a $30 gift card for her birthday, because it was her birthday.
Wow.
That is an officer that understands customer service and understands quality of life in our community. And I will tell you, there's a whole lot more of those stories than there are the other ones. And I just want to say thank you to our police department, and thank you for taking care of the elderly. And if I get stuck on the side of the road, I hope they'll help me, because I guarantee nobody on this council will. So, bunch of old fogies. That's all I have.
Jeffrey L.
Brian's been under a lot of pressure, and he doesn't know what he's doing.
And his evaluation is coming up, so.
Well, and I just want you all to know that there's somebody in the audience tonight could help you with senior housing.
That's right.
I have nothing.
Raquel?
I actually would like a moment to welcome back one of the citizens who always comes to the council meetings, but she's actually been out with a couple of medical issues. So Donna Shelton, we're glad to see you in the audience this evening.
And I saw Cedar Grove is glad to have her back, and had
Yeah.
some nice things around the school for
She's been out
welcome Miss Donna back.
for about, 4 months? 4 months. And that's all I have this evening.
HC?
once again, I need to send out condolences to the Fraley family. Danny Fraley passed away this last weekend. He was a kind of a pillar in the Kedron Church, a good member of the Rocky Fork community out there, and probably one of the last mule skinners that you'll ever meet. And on a happier note, this past Sunday was my granddaughter Mary Holland's birthday. On Monday was her daddy Declan's birthday, and then on this Saturday is my grandson Fenton's birthday. So they're having a big, glowing birthday week.
You're going to be a busy guy too, it sounds like.
Yeah,
You'll be shopping locally.
I'll be shopping locally
And being kind.
and I will be kind also, as I encourage the community to do.
You're gonna be broke.
That's right.
They're worth it.
Yeah,
You
they
know,
are.
they're
but
worth
you're
it.
gonna be broke.
And that's it.
Great. Tim?
You know, nothing tonight.
Okay. Jerry?
Well, last Friday night, had the honor to be at the awards banquet, and I just wanted to say congratulations to all the winners, but the one that I know probably the best was Mr. Ed Gleason, who won the Lifetime Service Award. So congratulations, Mr. Gleason, and all of those that have helped out so much. I know, Mayor, you talked about it in your speech about how people step up, whether it be the church or the community or ball fields or whatever. And we're blessed to live in this town and have that type of people that are just there to help. And Mike, your group did a nice job too. So I know it was a little bit different this year and to what you guys had to do. And so thank you for that too. My granddaughter has a birthday this coming Monday. She'll be 9, Sophie. So happy birthday to her. And I also had on my notes Miss Donna to say it's great to see you. So again, we missed you. Glad you're back. Mayor, that's all I got.
Great. Mark?
Donna, just so you know, Miss Appleton's been holding the fort down very well while you've been gone, so she's a constant herself. I was going to speak to the Volunteer of the Year banquet, Mr. Gleason, all those that won. One of the ones that we really didn't mention as much is Jerome Dempsey, and his business has been an integral part of our community, serves on a lot of committees, donates a lot of his time and his finances to volunteer to help our town be better. So I don't know if Jerome's watching tonight or not, but say thank you to Jerome, all the winners as well. Thank you, Chief Arnold, for making sure Florence Road is getting a little attention out there, and we're keeping those semis in check a little bit using the neighborhood roads. So we appreciate you guys keeping an eye on that. Brian, you mentioned we have somebody in the audience that could help us with 55 and olders, and that came up tonight again. And it's one of the things that's been near and dear to me, I know, is trying to find housing for people who are not yet seniors or elderly, but still reaching a point in their lives where they don't want as much upkeep and they don't want as much yard and maintenance to take care of. And in the business I'm in, oftentimes it was hard to find in Smyrna. A lot of people were heading to Murfreesboro to find that product. I'm really proud to say that through a lot of effort and through a lot of focus on that age category, Smyrna is getting ready to offer a little bit more of that, and hopefully in the future quite a bit more of that, because our population is growing and so is our age category. So I'm glad to be a part of that and glad that we've got something like that on the books. Mayor mentioned it, and it's a big need here in Smyrna. We've just not had it before. So that's on the way. And I remember a time, I think Tim and HG, Mary Esther, some of you that were around on the council or maybe served on boards and committees back in 08 and 09, when we had nothing going on, when the town was pretty much shut down because of the economy. And so I remember that time. I remember how painful that was for all of us. And we lost a lot of employees through that period of time. So even though growth is not always everybody's favorite thing, we have to keep in mind the opposite's not a very good thing either. So I'm just glad that we have Smyrna is a good place to live, and we have continued growth, and we try to manage that as best we can. That's That's all I have.
Great. Couple of things. I should have said this when we were appointing boards and committees. Those that were appointed tonight, someone will be getting in touch with you to let you know when you will be reporting for your board or your committee. Volunteer of the Year, y'all have talked a little bit about it. Ed Gleason did receive our Lifetime Service Award. And Sandra Kamal, a senior at Stewart's Creek High School, received the Young Leader Award, and thanks to SIMA, received a $500 scholarship. Just to let you know, the additional award winners, Thomas and Hutton, formerly Dempsey Dilling. You talked about Jerome. Coach of the Year was Dennis Massey. Stewardship Award was Smyrna Fast Pitch League. Parent of the Year was Morgan Whittemore. Smyrna Adult Softball League Volunteer of the Year was Josh Pitto. Smyrna Baseball League Volunteer of the Year was Nick Brewer. Smyrna Baseball League Athlete of the Year was Elijah Littleton. Smyrna Fast Pitch League Volunteer of the Year was Katrina Jones. Smyrna Fast Pitch Athlete of the Year was Kaylin O'Neill. Smyrna Junior Basketball League Volunteer of the Year was Lane Crawley. Smyrna Junior Basketball League Athlete of the Year was Trinity Mormon. Smyrna Youth Football League Volunteer of the Year was Michael Fain. Smyrna River Football Club Volunteer of the Year was Sarah Schmackel. Smyrna River Football Club Athlete of the Year was Colin Fleener. And Jerry, I will agree. It is nice to know that people, no matter what we need here in the town of Smyrna, are always willing to step up. I think so many people assume that the town of Smyrna and the town of Smyrna employees run our leagues here in the town, and we don't. It is volunteer organizations that take on that responsibility and have an agreement with the town to use the facilities, but it is all volunteer board driven for running of those leagues. A couple of years ago, we added to the award winners the Athletes of the Year. And when we say Athletes of the Year, it's not the person who scores the most runs or who is the best athlete. It is the one who exemplifies the best team player on the team, the one who might be the one that's cheering the other ones on. And to hear those stories and to see those individual young people be recognized is really special. So I'm so glad we were able to do that. I'm really excited about 9 o'clock in the morning. 9 o'clock in the morning, we are having our Top Gun night run meeting because we will be having a Top Gun night run this year. We will be choosing the date, and we are super excited about it. There will be more to come on that, but I would recommend that you be getting in shape for your 5K run. Brian?
Some of us did.
Oh, 6K, yes, the 6K.
Some of us did run it all.
We did too.
Oh, you know, it's funny how she just responded.
Yes.
As if she were the one that I was
Because
saying
I know that's
didn't.
what you were going to say.
Mark, we got some
So,
golf carts too that she can ride.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
She has ways.
We have opened it up to, was it 150 more people this year? And so I know that will fill up fast. So if you are interested in participating, we will have more information to come, but I sure am glad to know we're starting to get a little bit back to normal. It will not be in May. We're looking at doing it more in the fall. So more to come. I did get a letter from the United Way of Rutherford and Cannon counties, and it says, Mayor Mary Esther Reed and the town of Smyrna, congratulations on being the recipient of the 2020 Local Government Award for Excellence in Economic Development and Recreation and Youth Engagement. Best wishes for your continued success. I can't tell you how much I appreciate all that our employees do in contributing to the United Way, as well as the citizens of the town of Smyrna. They definitely embody neighbor helping neighbor, so I appreciate that. Last thing is personal. You all have a lot of birthdays in March. I do as well. My son Parker will be 24 on Thursday. That's hard to believe. Yes, I know. Britt will be 51 on the 15th. Parker's girlfriend Taylor has a birthday on the 28th, and Mama's birthday is on the 27th. So we just birthday for the entire month of March. So I think we're going to dinner every weekend this month, but lots to celebrate in our family. So I am blessed with the family I have and want to wish all four a happy birthday. Anything else? Anybody forget anything? No? If nothing else, then we are adjourned.